Hi! Welcome back to this channel, or welcome if you're new here. So, Film Out came out yesterday. And oh my god, their Japanese songs never miss. So I'm gonna divide this video into two parts. One, we will talk about the song and my thoughts on it. And two, we'll talk about the theories. I will put down timestamps in the description box, you can use them. So let's talk about Film Out. Film Out is an OST of the upcoming movie Signal. It is a Japanese movie and the song is also in Japanese. BTS have also done an OST before for Signal, the Japanese drama. And this drama was adapted from a Korean drama, also called Signal. Their previous OST was Don't Leave Me, and that song is one of my personal favorites from their Japanese discography. And so I was really hyped for Film Out, and it did what it was supposed to do. It was stunning. Let's just talk about the MV. It's so beautiful. It's aesthetically so pleasing. And the song, oh my god, it's stunning. I personally feel that BTS's vocal ranges really shine in their Japanese songs. I'm not sure why, but they really experiment with different styles in their Japanese songs. They really go out of their comfort zone. As for the lyrics are really beautiful. The official lyrics provided in the MV are good, but they aren't exactly able to convey what they're trying to say in Japanese. I know this because I've been a weeb for years, and even though I don't really speak Japanese or understand much, I can still say the English translation doesn't do it justice. And it would be better if you looked up Japanese army's translations. The song is really beautiful. The lyrics are absolutely stunning. The lyricism and imagery in it. And I have to say, props to composer JK. BTS really knocked it out of the park with this one, and I can't wait for the movie. Also, I have to say, the lyrics actually line up with the story of the movie as well as BU. Yeah, these two, both of them deal with time travel, and the song is essentially talking about someone who's there, but at the same time they're not there. It's about someone you really loved but you lost, and even though they're gone, their presence still lingers on. It's so pretty. Why do they do this to me? I get sad. And you better be streaming. I'll put a link over here. Make sure you stream. After you watch this video, go back to streaming. I really enjoyed the whole build-up, the way the song just kept building up. I don't really know what the term for it is, but you know how it just built up in intensity. I think that was just amazing. That was absolutely beautiful, and well done to BTS again. And Backdoor. Now moving on to theories, my favorite part. We haven't been able to make theories for like a year now, so I'm really happy to be back into making theories. I have to say, Film Out isn't exclusively labeled BU certified content like they do with some other music videos like Fake Love, but even then, not all of BU content is always labeled BU, like the VCRs and Spring Day, but we know it's related to BU. So before we move on with the theories, I have to say, I am going to be spoiling Notes Part 2, HYYH Notes Part 2. If you don't want that, then I'd suggest going and reading Notes Part 2 or just watching a summary of it or something like that and then coming back here. Please bear with me, my editing skills aren't that great, so yeah. So the music video starts off with Jungkook in a room, and there's a huge window in this room, and this window is really important, keep note of it. Outside the window there's nothing much, it's just clouds, and we move on to Jimin and Taehyung in this room. As we come to Taehyung's scene, there's actually an hourglass on the table, and keep note of this hourglass. The hourglass is laid out on the table horizontally. Now this could mean a bunch of things. It could mean that time is paused over there. Also note the color of the sand, it's dark sand. Now this could mean that time is stopped for Taehyung, or another theory of mine is that It's because Taehyung is not directly involved with the time loops. He can just see what's happening in the loops. I will talk about this later again. So we move on and then we find Jin. Jin is in a room and then there's the window over there still, but outside the window there's actually another room now. The clouds have gone. So I am thinking this window actually represents Jin's mind right now, and it could also represent a parallel universe, but at the same time I feel like it's better if I say it's Jin's mind right now, because mirrors, glass, windows, these hold a lot of meaning in BU, and not just BU, like the Big Hit universe, in TXT universe, GFriends universe, Bangtan's universe, all of them. So outside the window in the next room there are actually 7 people. All of them are facing us except one who's facing the other side, and I think this person is supposed to represent Jin. He doesn't really look like Jin, so maybe he's just a body double or something, but yeah, there are 7 people. So Jin is basically looking at them together, going through his memories. And if you're acquainted with BU, you'll know that every time the time loop resets, glass cracks around Jin, and Jin can see the time loop play out in front of him on the glass shards. So I think that's what he's seeing right now. He's reliving a loop. So some people suggested that actually Namjoon sees Jin first and then he starts singing, everyone else around him is paused. I don't think so. I just feel like it was just done for the MV, for aesthetic purposes. I don't know, maybe. I don't really think Namjoon actually saw Jin. You never actually see his eyes meet the camera. He just starts rapping, he does his part, and then everyone around him starts moving again. Instead of Namjoon, I feel like the first person who actually noticed Seokjin's presence over there is actually Jungkook. Seokjin actually holds up an hourglass, and you'll see that the hourglass has just started, meaning the time loop has reset again. Jungkook looks up in Seokjin's direction and then he suddenly looks down on the table. There's another hourglass over there, and that hourglass is running out. Everyone around Jungkook fades out except him. So why does Jungkook have another hourglass with him? To know this, I feel like you'll need to read Notes 2. At the end of Notes 2, we find out that Jungkook has actually met the cat. He probably made a deal with the cat, we don't really know, but he has definitely met it, and I feel like he is also in a time loop of his own. He just doesn't realize it. That's why he has another hourglass with him. And Jungkook and Seokjin's hourglass have the same sand in it. It's white sand, except Taehyung, whose sand is actually much darker in color. I think this is because Taehyung hasn't actually met the cat. He hasn't come in direct contact with the cat. He can only see the loops through his dreams. He only knows what happens in the past or what might happen in the future through his nightmares. And as for Jungkook and Jin, they have actually come across the cat. They have made a deal with the cat. They are involved in a time loop directly. And I have to say, I feel like the events of Film Out are actually happening somewhere in between Notes 2, not after Notes 2, because Jungkook hasn't gone rogue yet. He doesn't hate the boys as of now, and Jin is obviously still stuck in a time loop, whereas at the end of Notes 2 we find out that Jin has saved all of the boys. He has gone out of the time loop. The time loop has ended basically for him. He found his map of the soul. But the focus has shifted now onto Jungkook, and I think this MV was foreshadowing that. So the scene with Suga and J-Hope, I don't really know how to explain this bit, but I can explain it by tying it up to the Jungian theory. Suga obviously represents shadow and J-Hope represents ego, and they are sitting back to back. At the start of this verse, Suga starts off and there isn't anyone behind him. But as the camera pans out and he finishes his verse, J-Hope suddenly appears. So I think this part actually signifies Jin coming to terms with himself. To find the map of the soul, he needed to accept himself. After J-Hope's verse ends, we see Jungkook and he sings I Found You. I feel like this is really interesting because even the lyrics are tying up with the storyline, not just Signal's storyline but also BU's storyline. The lyrics started off by talking about someone's presence they still feel, but as they reach out, the presence disappears or vanishes. And at this part, after Suga and J-Hope come face to face with each other, Jungkook sings I Found You. This part is really interesting to me because it's implying that as soon as the shadow and ego came face to face with each other and accepted each other, this person found himself. Basically, Seokjin found himself. So yeah, after this, Jungkook has his Mr. Stark, I don't feel so good moment, and then he vanishes. Yeah, I'm sorry. Okay, moving on to the scene where Jin's time runs out. Basically, in his hourglass, the sand starts traveling up, meaning the loop has reset again, and everything in that room gets destroyed. This scene and everything that happened in this room is a parallel to Fake Love. I think the room just exploding, everything around him exploding, signifies how the loop resets and everything around him starts crumbling around and he starts losing himself. In the notes too, we find out that Seokjin's price that he paid to make a deal with the cat was him actually forgetting all of his memories, his precious memories with the boys, and why he's actually doing this. So the room exploding kind of means his mind, his memories just disintegrating in front of him. In this scene, as everything is exploding, he does try to run away and he comes out of a door, but then we see multiple doors, and I think all of these doors represent all the different timelines that Seokjin has been through. Now there is a theory saying that these doors actually represent not just time loops but also different realities, and Seokjin is not just time traveling but he's also hopping across dimensions or different realities. I do think this is a possibility. It could be that Seokjin is going through different realities, but that would just be really sad because in each reality that he leaves, none of them are happy. So yeah. This scene also reminds me of TXT's MV, Eternally. There's a particular scene with Hyun Kai coming across a door and he opens the door and he just finds another door over there. In the notes too, it is shown that Seokjin did try to run away. He didn't want to be a part of the loop anymore, and him trying to run away was just giving up on the members. He started losing his memories and he was just focusing on ending the loop, not actually saving them. He was just focusing on saving himself. So I think that is what this scene is representing, him running away from the room, but he realizes he can't actually run away. So that's why he does come back into the room and he just accepts it and he starts looking out from the window again. This next bit is really interesting to me because now we see Taehyung and Jimin in an orangish yellowish room. I would understand if it was just Taehyung, but even Jimin is thrown in. I do have a theory for this, so stick around till the end. As for the scene with all of them in a blue room and Seokjin just standing a little in front of them, I think this just shows the bit that all of the boys are in despair and Jin is trying to save them, but he just can't. I think that's just what this scene is representing, nothing too deep. Next we see Taehyung approaching Seokjin. Yeah, Seokjin comes to the window and from the other side there's Taehyung coming in and he approaches Seokjin. Now this scene is really interesting because Taehyung is the only one who actually knows about the loop's events. He doesn't really know that there's a time loop going on, but he is aware of the events through his nightmares. And in the final loop in Notes Part 2, Taehyung is actually the one who gets everyone together and they start helping Seokjin find Map of the Soul. And when Seokjin loses all of his memories, it's actually Taehyung who picks up the initiative to help Seokjin. Now let's move on to the last part of this video. This part, none of this is actually confirmed. These are just my theories, so don't take them way too seriously. But okay, let's start. So now after the end of Notes 2, we do realize that the focus has shifted from Seokjin to Jungkook. And I knew this was happening. I've been saying it for a really long time, but no one really noticed it. I knew things would come to Jungkook now. Things would boil down to Jungkook because he has weirdly been the center of everything. Everything started off with him, everything ended with him. Even in the Fake Love teaser, everyone approached the magic shop willingly except Jungkook. He looked like he was pushed there. And we never found out what he actually exchanged. He just got a key in return. So as I said at the beginning of Film Out, that room has a window, and outside that window it's just clouds over there, and only 3 people are shown in that room: Taehyung, Jungkook and Jimin. And in the orangish room, Jimin is also present. So this is my theory about why Jimin could actually be important coming up. We know that the story has shifted to Jungkook now instead of Seokjin, so I feel like he won't really be involved with the time loop and stuff anymore, but Jimin could get involved. I think Taehyung will be a constant. Taehyung will still continue seeing his nightmares and stuff, so that's why he's still shown. This also lines up with the VCR of Speak Yourself, where Namjoon and Jimin were paired up and there was a hourglass over there. So I feel like Jimin is gonna get involved with the cat or something like that. I'm not really sure, but I feel like he will be important in bringing back Jungkook. Now why I feel this way is because, so if you know Jimin's backstory, he actually has deep trauma. He saw a child get abused in the flowering arboretum when he was really young, and that has left a scar on him. And interestingly, that child was called Choi. Now why is Choi interesting? It's because we find out through Notes Part 2 that Seokjin's father was also a time traveler. He also had the same powers that Seokjin had. He also had to go through everything that Seokjin went through, and his friend, Seokjin's father's friend, is still missing. It's because of that missing friend that Seokjin's father actually started going through the time loops, and that person was called Choi. Now I'm not saying this Choi, the kid Choi, and Seokjin's father's friend Choi are related. I don't really think so, but I think it's really interesting. And also there are 3 other Chois: Choi Bom-gyu, Choi Soo-bin, Choi Yeonjun. We know Bangtan universe, TXT universe and G-Friend universe are connected in some way, shape or form. Now there is a little theory that I have about Jimin. Jimin starts recollecting that he actually ran away from the flowering arboretum instead of helping that kid, and after 5 or 6 days that child was actually found, and it was found that this child has like an episode of amnesia. He forgets everything that happened while he was kidnapped. I feel like Jimin was actually kidnapped instead of the Choi kid. I mean, yeah, the Choi kid was kidnapped, but Jimin actually saw him get murdered or something like that, and because of that Jimin was also locked up. He was tied, and there are a bunch of things supporting this theory. We have seen that Jimin gets really scared of blood, that triggers his seizures, and even in the Wings trailer, the Wings store trailer, we see that Jimin is tied up and he has scars of being tied up and stuff in the story. So I feel like Jimin was actually the one who was kidnapped, and it's actually Jimin that went through amnesia. They just tried to cover it up and say that Choi was the kid that was found after 5 days, and that kid went through amnesia because something big was involved. I think Seokjin's father was involved in this too. So yeah, that's something really interesting. So that could be a reason why Jimin will get involved in the future in this time loop thing. And I think the MV is just foreshadowing Jimin's involvement now. At the end of Notes Part 2, we realize that Jungkook has met up with the cat, because there are 2 entries in Notes Part 2 of Jungkook going through this accident. He feels like it's actually Jin that hit him, but Jin has no memory, no recollection whatsoever of hitting Jungkook. So in the first time that Jungkook mentions his accident, he doesn't really talk much about the cat. He just says he hears something. He heard a voice that said, "Living would be more painful than dying. Do you still want to continue living?" And in the final notes, like the epilogue that's shown, that has no dates on it, and the same dialogue is repeated. It's basically the same note again, but after the dialogue is repeated, Jungkook says, "I remembered this voice from somewhere." How? So this is why I feel like Jungkook is in a time loop of his own, but he doesn't realize that he is in a time loop. At the end of that note, it is also mentioned that Jungkook has been waiting for something, and it's something big. So I think whatever just happened with Seokjin, it was just a teaser. Something huge is about to happen, and it's gonna be really sad, I'm sure. Whatever happened with Seokjin was absolutely nothing compared to what's gonna happen next. This is a little confusing. If you want me to make a video on the final loop, let me know. I'll just try to make a simplified video of the final loop and explain everything. Just let me know in the comments or something. Now, how do we solve BU? Here's how we solve BU. Sit down, talk to each other. Like, please just sit down and talk to each other. Half of everything that's happening in BU is because of misunderstandings. Like, can't you just sit down and have a deep conversation? Just tell everyone whatever you're going through. I know it's easier said than done, but you don't really have anything to lose. Just sit down and tell the people that you trust and love the most about what's going on, and they will help each other out, and that's how we will end BU. Just sit down, talk to each other, please. Okay, that's it for my theories and thoughts on Film Out. Make sure you stream it well. Make sure you're buying and streaming properly. Stay hydrated. Don't take too much stress. And if anything confuses you, just let me know. I'll try to explain it. This video was definitely all over the place because I'm not used to making theory videos. But let me know if you want an explanation of the final time loop of Notes Part 2. And I'll make one. If anything is bugging you, or if you have any other theories, let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. Leave a like because that really helps out my channel, and subscribe if you want to, and I hope I'll see you next time. Bye.